It was raining hard that night. The kind of rain that makes the city lights blur and the streets whisper with loneliness. A man in a torn jacket ran through the downpour, holding a small girl in his arms, his daughter. She was barely 8, shivering, her thin arms clutching his neck. He didn't care about the rain or the cold. He just needed shelter. That man's name was Ethan Cole, a single father who'd lost everything, his wife to illness, his job to bad luck, and his home to debt. Yet, even with the world turned against him, his daughter Lila was his reason to keep breathing. He was a broken man with a strong heart, and that heart was about to change someone else's life forever. On the other side of the city, behind tall glass walls and marble floors, Clara Hayes, the youngest female CEO of one of the biggest tech firms in the country, sat alone in her office. To the world, she was powerful, untouchable. But when the lights dimmed and no one was around, Clara wasn't a CEO. She was a woman trapped in silence and pain. A car accident 6 months earlier had left her unable to walk. Her fiancé left her weeks later, saying he couldn't handle it. Since then, Clara had buried herself in work, hiding her tears behind numbers and meetings. But that night, fate decided their two worlds would collide. Ethan, drenched and desperate, had found shelter under a half-collapsed bus stop. His daughter coughed violently, and panic gripped him. Across the street, the only light burning in the storm was from the tall Hayes Tech building. He knew it was wrong, but he ran to the glass doors, banging for help. Inside, Clara heard the noise through the storm. She watched from her office window as a man held a child in his arms. Something in her heart tugged. She called security to check, but when they arrived, the guard hesitated. The child was sick, shivering, and the father's eyes begged for mercy. "Let them in," Clara said softly through the intercom. When Ethan entered, he looked around like he didn't belong. His soaked shoes left muddy marks on the polished floor. Clara saw him and spoke gently from her wheelchair, "It's okay. Sit. She needs warmth." He hesitated but obeyed. Clara ordered her assistant to bring dry towels and warm tea. The child slowly stopped trembling, her small hand clutching the blanket. "You saved her," Ethan whispered, voice breaking. "Thank you." Clara smiled faintly. "No. Maybe you saved me." That line, simple, fragile, was the beginning of everything. Days passed. Clara couldn't forget them. She learned that Ethan had once been an engineer before losing his job. Something about his resilience touched her deeply. She offered him temporary work at her company, a janitorial job, just to help him get back on his feet. He refused at first, but she insisted, saying, "It's not pity, Ethan. It's belief." And so began an unexpected friendship. Ethan worked quietly, never complaining, always kind. Lila would sometimes sit near Clara's office drawing pictures for her. Clara found herself smiling again, something she hadn't done in months. Ethan repaired things around her office, even her wheelchair once when it broke down. He never treated her as fragile. One afternoon, Clara asked, "Why are you always helping everyone?" Ethan looked at her, his eyes tired but honest. "Because I know what it's like when no one helps you." That answer broke something in her. The walls she'd built around herself began to fall. She started opening up, about the accident, the pain, the nights she cried alone. Ethan listened, never judging, just listening. Weeks turned into months. Clara sponsored Lila's school admission, and Ethan slowly started getting his life back. But just when everything seemed brighter, the company board turned against Clara. Rumors spread that she was emotionally unfit to lead because of her disability. One evening, she sat in her office as the board voted to remove her. She felt that same helplessness returning. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." She wasn't begging for her position, she was begging the world not to crush her spirit again. Then, Ethan stepped in. He had overheard everything. He walked into that meeting room, not as an employee, but as a man who had seen real strength, hers. "You all see a woman in a wheelchair," he said firmly. "But I see the strongest person I've ever met. The one who helped a stranger and his daughter when she didn't have to. The one who taught me that kindness isn't weakness. You think she can't lead? She's already leading hearts." Silence filled the room. Even the coldest faces softened. That day, Clara wasn't removed. Instead, the board reinstated her trust and doubled her shares. Ethan's courage saved her career, just as her kindness had once saved his life. Months later, Clara launched a new initiative, Project Second Chance, offering jobs to single parents, widows, and people with disabilities. She made Ethan the program's director. Their story inspired thousands, spreading across social media, touching hearts everywhere. And one quiet evening, as the sunset spilled gold across her office, Clara looked at Ethan and said softly, "You changed everything." He smiled back. "No, Clara. You changed me first." Their eyes met, not in romance, but in a deep, soulful understanding between two people who had saved each other when the world had given up on them. So, if you've made it this far, take a moment. Maybe you've been broken too, maybe you've lost hope, but remember, life can change in one act of kindness. Speech balloon. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us, even in the darkest storms, one act of humanity can light up an entire world.